This week on football, red card or no red card? Ruben Amorim would rather pick his 63-year-old goalkeeping coach over Marcus Rashford.
We miss a little bit like pace to go, to change the game, to move some pieces, but I prefer like that. I will put Vital before I put a player that don't give the maximum every day.
Brentford players have faith in Brian and Burmo. Lamine Yamal, you stop it, you. You stop it right now. Lampard's loving life. And Sir Jim gets caught out by some unhappy fans.
66 quid! 66 quid! 66 quid, mate! 66 quid, mate! What are you doing, mate?
Sort the fans
We're Northerners, come on,
Sort
mate!
the
Sort it
fans
out! If Fulham sell them for
Worse than the Glazers,
we
mate.
take triple
Worse than
there.
the Glazers,
We
you
take
fucking
triple there,
prick,
fans,
hey.
mate!
Hello everyone, welcome to This Week on Football. It is me, Alex. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for subscribing if you have already. If you haven't, go ahead, click that subscribe button. Maybe like it if you're enjoying the video so far. If you haven't caught me, I am on Alex Goalposts over on TikTok. You can go and follow me there for all the best bits. And you can also follow us on Instagram, which is at Goalpost TV as well. This week, I've got my weekend treble. I have got our day one fantasy teams to have a look at. I'll also be doing my team of the week as well. But first, we had a debate in the group chat this week and it got a little heated. And the asked question was, lads, who's the top 3 players in the Premier League that you love to watch, that you just love to watch? And we had the typical answers. Kevin De Bruyne came up, Cole Palmer, Alexander Isak this season as well. And then my friend Vince said this. Well, do you know what? Pause it. Pause the video, pause what you're listening to, and have a guess. And I'll give you as much time as you want. Have a guess who he chose. Here it is.
Seriously, it's genuinely. He could have said anyone. Fucking De Bruyne. Cole Palmer, Marcus Tavernier.
Utterly remarkable. I could have sat there for 5 years guessing straight answers and not got to Marcus Tavernier. But that prompted me to ask who are the best players to watch and actually who are the best players in the world at the moment. So I created a list. Here is the top 20 current best players in world football, starting at number 20, Jamal Musiala. I think he's been brilliant this season. He's still so young and he's got bags of potential. One of the best dribblers in world football, can score goals, and he's getting on the end of a lot more this season despite being in and out of the team quite a lot. 19, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. I have been back and forth with this. I'm gutted that he's gone to PSG. I think he was a player that Man United should have highlighted. The fact that Man United are currently in talks with Napoli to sell them Garnacho, there was an obvious swap deal there. There was something, there was potential for us to go and get a deal there, and even given Marcus Rashford, and he's ended up at PSG. 18, Alexander Isak. I think he's having the season of his life. He was brilliant last season and he's been even better this season somehow. 17, Florian Wirtz. I think that's a player that I think most people would have heard of if you watch German or if you just watch European football in general. But a lot of people who are maybe a bit more casual might not have heard of him. Florian Wirtz is the next big thing. He's remarkable. He had a bit of an injury crisis, obviously, at Leverkusen, but when he's fit, when he's firing, he is unstoppable. His goals and his assists are outrageous. His goal contributions rival that of almost any other forward-lying player in the world. And yeah, plenty more to come from him because he is still so young. 16, Phil Foden. Despite what people say about Phil Foden, I still think he is a top draw player and one of the best in the world. Yes, he's had a difficult start to the season and maybe he didn't have the best Euros, but his numbers last season don't lie, and just the eye test. Watch Phil Foden play. He's a dream to watch, and I think people have a little Twitter opinion, get out there, gather some traction, and all of a sudden other people start to listen to it. And that opinion would have been that Phil Foden was overrated. He's not. He's unbelievable. 15. That's mad.
Everything is under control here.
15, Pedri. I spoke about Pedri last week. Pedri is on the cusp of being the best midfielder in the world. I think there's no other player who plays like him. Maybe David Silva's of the past, Bernardo Silva's, where they get the ball, one touch, two touch, can turn inside their own footprint and progress play. He's lovely around the box. And yeah, I'm Pedri's biggest fan. I'm seriously obsessed with this guy. He's unbelievable. And I think a lot of people maybe wouldn't have watched loads of him, but in the latter stages of the Champions League, if Barcelona push their way through, I think he'll be at the heart of it, and a lot more people will realise just how good this kid is. At number 14, Virgil van Dijk. He is probably the best centre-half in the world currently. I think if Liverpool go and win the league, he'll be in, obviously, the team of the season. He'll be really high up on the Ballon d'Or list, and Liverpool still have a major opportunity of winning 3 big trophies. So Virgil van Dijk, he's thereabouts. Could he win a Premier League title? Again, could he win another Champions League? And if he does, I think you've got to really start considering Virgil van Dijk as one of the best centre-halves who have ever played the game. 13, Robert Lewandowski. Still at Lewandowski's age, he is still phenomenal. Unstoppable. The goals he scored in the Champions League showing that he can do it at the highest level. Still scoring for Barcelona in the league and the top goal scorer in La Liga this season as well. He is defying the odds. Him, Benzema, Ronaldo, you think of these players, these strikers, classic strikers who have always scored goals. Benzema obviously now in Saudi, Ronaldo in Saudi, they've done their bit. Lewandowski still plugging away in Europe's top 5 leagues and in the biggest competition in the world, the Champions League. He's phenomenal. Number 12, Fede Valverde. I think a lot of people who don't watch Spanish football, maybe don't watch Real Madrid very often, might not appreciate just how good this guy is. He's super versatile, brilliant on the ball, lightning fast for a central midfielder as well. He always gives sort of a 7, 8 out of 10 performance for Real Madrid. He's Mr. Consistent, and I think he definitely goes under the radar, particularly in a Real Madrid side that is so full of stars, and it is full of stars. Fede Valverde is unbelievable. 11, Rafinha. This is Rafinha's season of his life. He is absolutely milking it. That Barca side creates loads of goals, and obviously Lewandowski through the middle. You've got Lamine Yamal on the right-hand side. You've got some brilliant players that obviously come through the La Masia Academy at Barca. But Rafinha from Leeds in the Premier League and getting all the way to Barcelona and becoming one of the best players in the world for me at the moment. This season, he's been above every other left winger in world football and stands alone for me in that left wing spot in the best team in the world currently. 10, Lamine Yamal. I cannot believe that I would include Lamine Yamal, someone who is 17 years old, in a list of the best current players in the world. But every single time he plays, he is a threat. He's dangerous. Every single player, no matter how experienced they are, when they get around him, they're nervous. They're thinking, oh no, this 17-year-old is going to make me look a fool. And he does every time. They double up on him and he still gets past them. He bends it in from all over the place, gets in behind. His vision is outrageous. I don't think I've seen a player so young with such an intelligent football brain. He sees passes that I don't even see when I'm watching TV. And that is saying something, because you're watching TV, you can see the full picture. He's playing 100 miles an hour and still picking out these balls. He's an unbelievable talent. I actually think he can still get better as well. He is the future best player in the world, and he's just getting started for me. Number 9, Bukayo Saka. I think with Saka, obviously he's out injured at the moment. His last 3-4 seasons have been brilliant. He's been just below the best right winger in the world, which is someone else at the moment. But I think other than that, he's been absolutely brilliant. A lot of people don't seem to rate him as highly as they should do. I think he's fantastic. He's the best out and out right winger that we've got at England. And I think that the England fans don't maybe appreciate him as much as the Arsenal fans do. He's a fantastic player. And yeah, I think when he's back, Arsenal will be back to their best. When he's missing, it shows. Number 8, Cole Palmer. I think there is a good argument to say that Cole Palmer, based off the last season and a half, has been the best player in the world. I actually think it's that strong of a statement, what he's been putting up since he's gone to Chelsea. He left Man City. He had the confidence to do it. He went into that Chelsea side, took him by the scruff of the neck, and became their best player. He is by far and away the best player. And actually, I think maybe barring someone else, he's the best player in the league. He's one of the players that I absolutely love to watch. I'd go and watch him over any other player in the Premier League currently. I think he's that good. 7, Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane for me has been the best out-and-out striker for the last sort of 5-10 years. I think his move to Bayern was well overdue. Hopefully he wins a title this season. It looks like he's going to win one, the German league title. I think Kane's performances, Kane's records almost get overshadowed by his lack of trophies, and that is not fair. I don't believe that if he was in any other side, top side in world football, he would have gone through this period, this long dry patch without a trophy. If he was playing for Man City, people would be talking about him like he's the best striker that's ever played in the Premier League. Unfortunately, he's had to go all the way to Germany, to Bayern, to win a title, and he still didn't do it in his first season because for some reason Leverkusen and Xabi Alonso went unbeaten for a whole season. It's madness. He must be thinking, what is my luck all about? But they'll win a title this season. Then maybe people get off his back with trophies, because he is a top player. He can play deep, he can play balls through, he can play over the top, he can get in behind himself, and he gets on the end of everything. He's a finisher. If Man United, a team like Man United, had someone on the end of all the chances that they created, Chelsea, these are Premier League teams that would just be changed overnight with a player like that. And I don't think that goes unnoticed from someone like me who absolutely loves Harry Kane. Number 6, the current best striker in the world is Erling Haaland, and he's, I think, the 6th best player in the world currently. Erling Haaland is a player that people underestimate, and I'm going to leave it there because I'll talk a little bit more about Erling Haaland later in the show, but Erling Haaland's a phenomenon, and I think people forget that too easily. Number 5, Rodri. Ballon d'Or winner. Obviously, Rodri's been phenomenal for seasons, 3, 4, 5 seasons now. And at Man City, he is showing that he is absolutely crucial. Without Rodri, Man City are half the team. With Rodri, they're a team that are just unstoppable, winning trebles, winning titles. Rodri is at the heart of that. Despite all the unbelievable talent around him, he is still the main linchpin to that Man City side. And without him, like I said, he is, he's watching his City side possibly not even make the Champions League, which is crazy. I don't think anyone thought they would have said that. Wishing him, obviously, not very speedy recovery as a United fan, but what a player. The respect I've got to put on him. One of the best, if not the best, central defensive midfielders I've ever seen in my life. Number 4, Vinicius Jr. Unlucky to miss out on a Ballon d'Or last year, but I think Rodri was better. I think the Madrid fans maybe hyped it a little bit too much, and I think Vinicius Jr. even felt himself he was going to win it and convinced himself he was going to win it, so couldn't believe it when he didn't. He has been brilliant. He has been unbelievable. He's a big game player, scores in big moments. He is always a threat. He's a personality, and I always talk about this, that players, top players, need to be a personality. They need to have something about them more than just their technical skills. They need a physical presence, or a mental presence, particularly with attackers. You need to get in the head of your defenders. You need to make them think that today, no matter what they're going to do, they can't stop you. Vinicius Jr., if it's not going well for him, he'll start riling people up and it will definitely affect the game. So even if he's not on his best, he's affecting the game. Positives and negatives to that, but I think he's a brilliant player. Top 3. Mo Salah. Mo Salah is the 3rd best player in the world at the moment. And I think for far too long, people have maybe underestimated the power of his numbers from a right wing position. Who else is doing it? Who else is doing those sort of numbers from a right wing position? I know Liverpool play almost 3 forwards and maybe he almost doubles as a striker sometimes, the way he runs in behind. But Mo Salah is unstoppable, and particularly this season, maybe the best I've ever seen him. So Mo Salah for me, 3rd best. Number 2, Jude Bellingham, the most overhated, underrated player in the world. People actually talk about Jude Bellingham like he is overrated. I can't believe it. How can you say Jude Bellingham is overrated? Look at his touches. Look at his power on the ball when he runs with the ball. When he gets back, he is disciplined. He gets on the end of things like a striker, plays like a centre forward. I actually think there's not much between him and Zidane. I think the way he's going, where Zidane was, and you might go, oh, no way, Zidane. I promise you, Zidane would never get the numbers in terms of attacking output that Jude Bellingham does. I think Zidane's a better player, a more clever player, but Jude Bellingham's still really young, and I think he's got a little bit to go, but I don't think it's too far. I think Jude Bellingham is a phenomenon. I think England have one of the best players in the world, and I think we underappreciate how good he is and how important he is. He comes up in big moments. He scores big goals. He showed that at the Euros. He pulls teams together. His attitude is insane. It's brilliant. It is exactly what you want from a professional footballer. His attitude actually carries him through games. If he's not having the best of games, he's still kind of hungry to do more. He doesn't want to leave anything on the pitch, and I love that about him. I don't know if that's going to serve him well in terms of longevity of his career, but for now, what a player. Number 1, I still think the best player in the world is Kylian Mbappe. I think people got off the Kylian Mbappe train very quickly after he moved to Real Madrid and it wasn't going so well for him. They thought, oh yeah, he's old news. Kylian Mbappe is still the best player in the world. He was before he went there and he is still now. He's now getting into a run of form, getting some goals, and I think he'll ultimately be top goal scorer in the Liga season. I don't think anyone can stop him once he's on this sort of run, and Real Madrid scoring goals for fun. Obviously Barca are as well, and then Lewandowski will push him all the way, but Kylian Mbappe is just unbelievable. Can play left wing, can play striker. I don't know where his best position is, but just get him on the ball, get him running at people, and he will score goals. Tell me if you agree. Let me know if you think that any of those are wrong or that I've missed anyone out, but I think that's a pretty definitive list. For me anyway, I'm not being biased. I don't think I've got... Well, there's no Man United players in there, certainly, and I wouldn't want to include any, but I've put some Liverpool players in there. I've put some Arsenal players in there. Real Madrid, Barcelona. I don't know. I try not to be biased most of the time, and I try to kind of give my genuine opinion. The problem is everyone will ignore what my opinion is if it's nothing to do with Man United or any of our rivals. But as soon as it is about Man United, it's, oh, you're biased. Well, I can't win. Team of the week, funnily enough, goalkeeper Andre Onana. I've put him in there because there was no other goalkeeper this week. I watched 90 minutes of quite a few teams. I think Onana was probably the only one who got a clean sheet this weekend. Did all right. Still frustrates the hell out of me when he's playing it long to absolutely nobody. We brought him in for his kicking, his distribution, his composure on the ball, and he's not really shown that. But he's come up in big moments and, kept a clean sheet against Fulham. I'll put him in there. Right back, James Tavernier. I think this is perhaps overdue and something that maybe a lot of people don't recognise. But if I show you some statistics and have a look at these, who do you think this player is? Who is this player that we're looking at? Is he a centre forward who's consistent week in, week out, season in, season out, providing goals and match winning moments? Is he a right forward or a left forward, an outside forward, getting on the end of things, making sure he sets up goals and scores goals himself? This looks like a world-class player, and it's none of the above. It is James Tavernier for Rangers. I actually don't think I've ever seen a fullback have this much influence creatively. And we talk about, obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold and his abilities, and obviously Andy Robertson over the years when Liverpool were playing those fullbacks attacking and getting on. James Tavernier's been doing this season in, season out. Goals, assists, dead ball, everything. He can do everything. I actually think he's a really good defender as well. It's almost a shame that he spent so long at Rangers. I love that he is there, and I think Rangers and the Scottish League deserve a lot more credit, but you almost want to see someone with that ability in the Premier League, and Rangers fans won't like me for that. Look, he's older now, it's probably never going to happen, but I still think he's got a lot to go, and 33 I think he is now. He's a top player, and the performance he put in actually against Man United the other night was brilliant. I thought he was fantastic, and ultimately let down by someone at the back falling asleep and letting Bruno Fernandes get in. I thought he was really good. Centre back Trevor Chalobah. It was really difficult for Trevor Chalobah this season because obviously at the age of 25, being basically told you're not good enough to play for Chelsea and still not good enough, and you're getting sent out on loan, that's got to be hard. And then all of a sudden you're then recalled and expected to slot in back into a top 4 challenging side, and he's done that, and I think he comfortably does that. For me, Trevor Chalobah's been really good. I don't really understand why Chelsea wanted to let him go. There's talks about him going that way and Mark Guay coming the other way. Don't get me wrong, I love Mark Guay, but I think Trevor Chalobah's a very good centre-back. I don't know whether it's going to be enough for Chelsea to win a league title, but to get rid of him and to push him out, I don't think was the right idea, and I think a lot of people agreed, and obviously been proven right now because he's back in and straight back into that starting lineup. Other side of him, Lisandro Martinez. Lisandro Martinez has been absolutely awful for about 3 or 4 months, and actually I had this horrible feeling, this flashback to Crystal Palace, Selhurst Park earlier on in the season when Lisandro Martinez made me want to jump off a 9-story building and land on a pin. It was almost like watching... It was like someone had paid him to make sure that Man United don't win. And I don't mean in mistakes. Every time he got the ball, we're 0-0 away at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, but Man United should have been going and taking the game to him. He was taking about 10 seconds on the ball every time. Like, it was just dawdling along, allowing the game to just pass him by. If he got the ball, yeah, I might pass it, or I might just turn behind me and pass it back to Onana. And I got that feeling again against Fulham, Craven Cottage the other night, and it was frustrating me and I was worried. And then he came out of nowhere and blasted one in the top corner. So, you got to take your hat off to him. He's actually good defensively that night. I will say that maybe they could have looked at it for a red card on that challenge on Traore, but I like that he's got fight. I like that he's got spirit. I don't like some of the things, but there's plenty of the things that I do like, and more positives than negatives about this guy. I think he's got plenty of potential in this Man United side, and hopefully they get it right, because he's very good on the ball and he's very good defensively when he wants to be and when the players are performing around him. So yeah, it was a banging goal as well. So yeah, left back Josko Gvardiol. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. I've never seen a fullback so attacking and get into so many attacking positions. Tell me if you've seen anyone, but Josko Gvardiol was getting into positions that only a striker or a Mo Salah type right winger would get into. He was getting in to positions where he was the first man following up on shots parried by goalkeepers. He was getting in behind, and it was one of the weirdest feelings watching that game. I don't think I've ever felt it, where I've watched a game and thought, this guy's going to score, and it was a defender. I had this feeling, it kept building up. It's like, he's going to score in a minute. He's going to score in a minute. And he had about 3 or 4 chances, and then he got another one, and put it in the back of the net. He's a really good player, very good technically. There are things that he could do better defensively, but I think one-on-one defending he's brilliant at. He's got a bit of pace. He can take the ball past the player. He can cross. He can shoot. He can pass. And he can obviously play centre-forward. I'd play him centre-forward. I actually would. If I was Man United right now and we had Josko Gvardiol, I'd play him centre-forward. I'm not even lying. I think he's that good. Central midfield, Manuel Ugarte. I think we've got to remember with Manuel Ugarte that he is just 23 years old. He's still young. His first season in the Premier League. It's one of the most physical leagues. It's one of the most dynamic leagues. And it's one of the hardest to get your head round as a midfielder. I think he's doing a really good job. There's a lot to say that, he can do a bit better, but I think he's really good on the ball. He's very good in tight situations, which you want from a central midfielder. He is a nightmare because you can't shake him off. He's like a Jack Russell Terrier chasing you at your feet. And if he feels like he needs to bring you down, he will. He's got a bit of bite to him. So I think there's a lot to say for Manuel Ugarte, and I do think there's plenty more to come from him. I think it was a good signing. I don't think it was a bad signing from Man United. And yeah, at 23 years old, you forget just how young he is. Alongside him, I'm going to go with João Neves. This was a contentious thing that we were talking about. Actually, like I said, in the group chat, there's a bit of a debate about moving to PSG. And João Neves obviously moved to PSG at the start of this season. And I talked about him, I think, in the Euros, saying that he is a top player, which he is. And he will now prove that in the Champions League, the more people get to watch him. But it was almost like going to PSG when you're that good of a player. I just feel like you've got a million other options. Winning that French league, I said, was like being top of your set, but being set 5 at school. It's not the same. And you need to kind of go, and when you've got a player of that ability at such a young age, I feel like you need to go somewhere big. I think PSG is just the start for him, genuinely. I think he's a really good player. He had a fantastic night against Man City. Really impressed. And then finishing off midfield, Jacob Ramsey. Really nice to see him back amongst the goals. He's had a difficult couple of seasons. Obviously, injuries have not been very fair on him. He's been in and out the side, and obviously difficult when Aston Villa are pushing for Champions League places and getting there. They need to act quickly. They can't afford to wait around for Jacob Ramsey to be fit. So players are starting to fill his position. But I think he is the best of the bunch, even still. I think there's players around him that obviously are maybe taking the headlines. Morgan Rogers, Yuri Tielemans, obviously John McGinn's coming back now, but I think Jacob Ramsey, if he can get that left wing position nailed down, I think he's a good shout for it. And he's still, again, 23 years old, very young, so plenty of potential. Right wing, Noni Madueke, back-to-back Premier League goals for Madueke. I think he's having a very good season, and I do think that Chelsea have got obviously an abundance of wingers, but I do think he's their best. I think Pedro Neto is too inconsistent for me, always has been. I think Jadon Sancho is a nightmare, but sometimes a brilliant player. Cole Palmer can play out there, but he's a little bit better centrally. And then they're talking about signing Garnacho, and yeah, Madueke is the best of the bunch by a mile. I think he was always going to be this season, but it was up to him really to kick on. He said that Maresca's obviously called him out and said that he needs to do more, that he didn't like it, but maybe that has been enough to kind of kick him on. He has been brilliant. He is super direct, and I love a winger who just gets the ball and runs at their fullback. Why is that so difficult? It's frustrating, and Madueke does it, but he does it effectively. When he gets at a fullback, he usually beats them, and he's got a bit of end product as well. Left wing, Rafinha. Spoke about Rafinha earlier. I think there's a genuine argument to say he's top 3 players in the world currently this season, and I don't think there's been any players really that have been better than this season. Mo Salah aside, maybe, but Rafinha's numbers are outrageous. They are in the Champions League as well, on the biggest stage. They are in the biggest games against Real Madrid, in Clásicos. They are in massive fixtures, obviously Bayern Munich early in the season. He's a brilliant player, and Leeds saw that, and they capitalised, got the money for him, but I still can't quite believe that a player was at Leeds and then jumps to Barcelona. Leeds go down and he jumps. It almost feels like you've taken an extra step, or you've leapfrogged a step that you should have taken. There was a club in between there and he didn't take it, but he didn't need it, and he's showing that. Striker, finishing off, Erling Haaland. The goal was great this week and the finish was fantastic. The thing is with Erling Haaland, you expect him to run in behind. He's got so much pace. He is so quick and powerful, and you expect him to finish. One thing I think that doesn't get highlighted enough about Erling Haaland, and I actually think the opposite, he's criticised it on it. It's his hold-up play, and he is brilliant at it. I think the more you watch other strikers particularly ones that maybe are wearing the red shirt instead of the blue shirt, you see how crucial hold-up play is. And when you have a bad game, it is super noticeable. I don't really notice that from Erling Haaland. If he's holding the ball up, he's brilliant at it. He showed that with the Phil Foden goal at the weekend, taking that touch and knocking it in. It was actually a brilliant touch when you slow it down and you look at it. And like I said, he's a finisher. He gets on the end of things, doesn't really let his head go down. He's a very, very capable player mentally and physically, and I think he's the best striker in the world at the moment. Right, weekend treble time. For anyone who followed my weekend treble last week, I actually don't know what to say, because I picked the first two, fine. It was fine. Newcastle won, over 2.5 goals in the Leverkusen game. Easy. They came in, and we were just waiting on Benfica to beat Casapia. And inexplicably, Porto and Benfica both lost on the same weekend. Benfica got beat by Casapia 3-1. After taking the lead, by the way, Angel Di Maria scored a penalty. And it just feels like everything's going against us at Goalpost TV at the moment. We had an amazing run at the start. We had in and out, and we don't need to win every week on this weekend treble to make profit, as you know. But now we're turning that way. We were about £100 up. We're now, I think, £56 up for the season. And don't get me wrong, that's really good. Look, I just want profit. We're £56.61 up, 51 up, and that's a really good result. If you'd have asked me at the start of the season, that's the sort of thing I was looking for. I just want us to make money. But the last sort of 8 weeks have been a nightmare. It's just building up to this point where I'm due a nice one, a big one. So starting off with my first selection, Everton versus Leicester over 1.5 goals. Leipzig or draw away at Union Berlin. And the third selection is Wrexham to win away at Crawley. £10 on this week gets you a return of £31.53. That will take us to a nice healthy £89. See how quickly it would change. £87, sorry, for the season. And we're in a good spot again. We're in a great spot anyway. You just got to trust me. Stick with me. I will be back next week, next Wednesday, and every Wednesday until the end of the season. Thanks once again. Have a great week. He's unbelievable. 15. He's unbelievable. 15. That's mad.